Hey, welcome back to the channel. It's awesome that you're tuning in. In today's video we're going to take a close look at a GMKtec product. But this is an older AMD Ryzen model. And the reason I wanted to check it out because this can be interesting for some application, including emulation. They are getting cheaper and cheaper. But how is it with emulation and is it still worth picking up? Because this is the AMD Ryzen 5000 series, the number 7. At the back we're finding the DisplayPort, HDMI, 2 USB ports, 2 RJ45, an input for the power supply, a lot of ventilation, which you can just see on the sides and at the front, a very nice green on-off switch, headphone, that Type-C, and we're having 2 USB 3.0 ports. A compact design, but how is it with upgradability? So one of the cool things, you can just rip open the top case and just get into the machine itself, so you don't need to do a completely teardown. Unfortunate, we do need to remove this piece of plastic. Okay, so let's remove the final screw and let's rip this thing open. Oh, there we go. So in here we're finding not a lot of upgradability, but what is very nice and very positive, they are using the Lexar PC Express, and this is a very nice overall brand and not the cheap stuff that we have seen many times before. 1 terabyte in total with this particular model. They also implemented cooling, so that is good. And then of course dual channel, that will be an absolutely positive thing that will benefit emulation from. And let's check out the brand. It's called Whoopussit. Wait, what? Never seen it. Never heard of that too. You know, that's always a gamble with these things. Sometimes they're using Corsair on some familiar brands, and now they're using this particular one. Doesn't matter. What we're having is actually 2 times 16 gigabyte in total, 32 gigabytes of work memory. So that's not bad at all. But yeah, the downside is we cannot put an extra NVMe in here, and there was no option for, let's say, in 2.5 drive, was so far I can just see. So that's a little bit of a bummer, and I've seen it before with these things. But let's go further with the unboxing. So in here, I must say the presentation has been done very nice. So in here we're finding the manual. Okay, that is open on 2 sides. The Tribute to Innovation, GMKtec. Okay. Some big explanation, how everything works, specifications, and etc. The technical specifications. This is the AMD Ryzen 7 5700U, and of course it is with 8 cores, 16 threads, running on 4.3 GHz maximum, TDP 10 watts to 25 watts. So, and then the AMD Radeon graphics, but we're going to be looking into it with some CPUs at. In here we're finding the power supply and the needed cord. Let's see if this is going to be in the right cord and the right power supply. So it needs the 3 pins, and the power supply itself is a 19 volts and nothing very interesting or special. Let's check out how they did it with the configuration of the cables. An HDMI cable, bracket for mounting, and of course the European cable for me. Okay, correct. Alright, it's time for the wicked nerdy time with the CPU Z. So the name is the AMD Ryzen 7 Mobile 5700U. So it's also known by the socket FP6. It's a 7nm technology. So the specifications, in total we're having 8 cores and 16 threads. Let's go to the main board where it says GMKtec. The memory, DDR4, in total 32 gigabytes with this particular model. And you can just see we're having dual slot over there. Alright, so the graphic is going to be the AMD Radeon graphics, and I found it quite unfortunate, and you will see throughout the testing, is that, and that's one of the reasons I do like the Ryzens, but the 5000 series, I will show you what I mean when it comes to more, let's say, demanding games. Alright, so let's do a quick Cinebench R23, and we're going to be running that on the background and checking out the temperatures. The temperature itself is 74.3 Celsius max. So now it's running on 60 Celsius, that's a very nice value. The fan does spin quite loud sometimes, but not to the point it's getting really annoying. So when it comes to the temperatures, it's absolutely not bad at all. So when it comes to the CPU mark, and let's take a close look at the top 10 and for the common CPUs, and you can see this thing is hitting 50,874 points. It's almost similar to the 4800H, and next up we're going to having the i7 11800H. So that's actually where we're going to be finding this particular CPU in the top 10 common laptop CPUs. The scores itself is similar with, let's say, the 4800H for the single core score, and then having over here the i7 10th generation and i5 11th generation. So that's actually what we're getting when it comes to like the specifications and everything else. So when it comes to this 5000 series AMD Ryzen, they're absolutely great if you want to experience old school games. For example, the Outrun 2006 on Full HD and everything set to the high settings. There's actually not a lot of settings you can adjust with this particular game, but it runs perfectly. And you will see this going on further when you're having more and more like older games. So where the 5000 is not my favorite ones if you want to play three-dimensional games with the newer generation, yeah, the old stuff runs absolutely stunning on this, with a lot of, let's say, wiggle room around. Like you look at the 59 Celsius, but only 24% of the GPU is actually be used. It's crazy to think about that you can just play this without any problem. Alright, so first off, let's start with some Grid Combat Autocar. It's an absolutely amazing game. So with full HD resolution, set everything to low, we're going to be hitting in 45 frames per second. It's still like enjoyable. This is a really fast racing game, and this looks absolutely awesome, even on low graphics. But let's go to a favorite fighting game of mine, and with this particular game we can just push this thing not really to the limit, so you can just see the CPU, particularly let's say the GPU is not going to be used with its full potential. And with this game on full HD and even having everything set to the highest setting, hitting like a 60 FPS. I've been testing a lot of my 5000 series with this particular game, and I find it always quite, let's say, disappointing that when there are like so many cool older games out there, three-dimensional games that are not playable. It's absolutely fascinating to see that it actually runs, but when you're getting into the gameplay, you will see that we don't have a great overall performance. And mostly I'm trying to get myself in 6000 or 7000 AMD Ryzen series, because that works so much better with also these older, actually like newer AAA games. Red Rogers is a very interesting game to check out, and where this beautiful game looks still stunning on low graphics 1080p, it's just funny to see that the mini PC struggles to actually get this to work properly with headlight dips to 15 FPS. So that is one of the things I don't really like the series. Simple games or two-dimensional games still have problems. Okay, so when it comes to the GMKtec 5000 series, it's a very cool piece of technology, but when it comes to, let's say, newer generation, let's say Windows gaming, you're missing out a lot of power, and 4K emulation, it's not going to be happening anytime soon on this thing, and we just need to have more power like the 6 or 7000 or later on versions coming out in the future. Let me know in the comments what you think. Do you still think it's worth it when you're going to pick it up for not a lot of money? Thank you all for watching, consider subscribing, hit the little bell, and it would be great to see you in the next video. And we cannot really upgrade it. It's not a downside.